Hello, welcome back to the Cricket Nerds. It's me and Benji today, and we're going to be talking about India versus New Zealand, including that blistering knock from Shubman Gill. And we're going to be talking about England versus South Africa. Finally, England break the losing streak, and we get a bit of a consolation win at the end. We'll start with India versus New Zealand. And the story was of one player, I think. It was just all Shubman Gill. I don't think I've ever seen a more one-sided match than India versus New Zealand. So we'll start with what was the bulk of the match: India batting. New Zealand elected to not bat for very long. We'll start off with the two openers, because these are two openers that we've kind of had a lot of conversations about in the last couple of weeks, being kind of the next best things in Indian cricket, especially the white ball stuff. And one of them seems to be like absolutely soaring and has all the faith of the selectors and everything, and the other one seems to be like the ugly sister, not quite cementing his place when he's given the opportunities, but occasionally will pull out some absolute brilliance. Ishan Kishan and Shubman Gill, what are your thoughts?
Shubman Gill is something else, isn't it? Like, my word, I don't think I've seen like such a meteoric rise of a player. Like, it's even like eclipsing Harry Brook for England. Like, for his international career at the minute, he's played 21 ODIs, 6 T20s. He's averaging 40.4 in T20s at a strike rate of 165. Like, that's ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is he's averaging 73 in ODI. Like, Joe Root averages 50, and we say he's a phenomenal ODI player. He is averaging 73 in ODI. Like, just across all formats of the game, he's just becoming this phenomenal batter at the minute. And yeah, it's scary for everyone else just to see such a meteoric rise. Like, the excitement around him, like especially from players like Virat Kohli, who are excited to see where he can go. At such a young age, it's like, it is this meteoric rise. Ishan Kishan, on the other hand, he's been around the block for a little bit. He's been playing for Mumbai for a number of years. He's not really had he's had more of a chance in T20 and ODI up to this year than Shubman Gill had. But I think he's just totally been eclipsed by it, hasn't he? And with the return of Rohit Sharma, I don't think I can see Ishan Kishan staying in that spot, just because I think now Rohit and Shubman Gill have just got that nailed on so much. Maybe in T20, there's a debate, but definitely for like ODI and Test, I think you've got that opening partner for years now. I think Shubman Gill is just such a high-class player, and I think he's going to do big things in the IPL this year as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. More like a likelihood now. And it was nice to see everybody else just support Shubman Gill as well. Like, because, 126 at a strike rate of exactly 200 not out is exactly what you want for your stats, because that has helped his T20I stats to no end. But also, it means that everybody else who, looking at the other batters, they're all kind of players that can go from ball one. It means that they can bat around him, and they know there's the stability at one end that is just scoring very freely. There's no pressure to kind of keep that scoreboard going, so they can just play with a bit more freedom. Not kind of I don't know, when there's an anchor at one end that is providing stability but not scoring that freely, players sometimes kind of seize up. They feel like they need to score, and then they kind of limit what they can do. But yeah, like Rahul Tripathi, it was really nice to see him actually have a good knock for India, and he did exactly what he needed to. Sky played just a nice handy cameo, the same as Hardik Pandya. Question mark still I have about Deepak Hooda. I think he's a number 3, maybe a number 4, and I don't think that spot is open for India, and I just don't think that he's their best option to come in at 6. I think there are just other people that I would rather see. I might show a bit of Punjab Kings bias here, but Jitesh Sharma, I'd much rather see him get a shout because he's been incredible in T20s, and he is somebody that can go from ball 1. He's a proven finisher. Deepak Hooda is not quite that. He's somebody that, you want earlier in the innings and can produce, match-winning knocks. Bowling-wise for New Zealand, not a whole lot to be proud of. In fact, I would go as far to say that the only person that could kind of walk off without feeling slightly ashamed of what they'd achieved was Michael Bracewell, who, he bowled, I think it was the second over, and got Ishan Kishan out. So that was good. But other than that, I mean, Daryl Mitchell had one good dilly-dobbly over.
Yeah.
To Hardik Pandya at the death. So that was impressive. But other than that, it was horrendous from them.
It was just for like, they just couldn't put it anywhere. Like anywhere they'd put the ball, they'd get smashed. In sort of the later overs, when Gill was in with Hardik, Ben Lister was in, and he, in domestic cricket, is known for his Yorkers, and they're really good. They're his best ball. And Shubman Gill just smashed 3 of his Yorkers all over the place, like they weren't anything to worry about. Like this, the amount of talent that this lad has is insane. Like he just shows no respect for any of this. And just smashes it all over the place to make that huge century here. And it just basically made that bowling attack of New Zealand look like it just wasn't even there. It just goes back to that point, is why can't India do this during World Cups and when it matters? Like why can they play so well in all these bilateral series, and then as soon as it gets to a World Cup, crumble under the pressure and lose games that they really have no business losing? It's a lasting question, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, we saw like one of the worst collapses I think I've ever seen in a T20 side. Obviously chasing, what was it, 235 they needed. You're going to need to go from ball 1 pretty well. Like you talk about runs on the board, and India chose to bat and put runs on the board. But New Zealand, Hardik Pandya opened the bowling, and inside the first over, he'd got Finn Allen out, who is on a bit of a bad run, really. And then it was Arshdeep Singh in the second over. My boy Arshdeep took 2 wickets. It might have even been a double wicket maiden. Was it? No, it wasn't.
No, I don't think it was. But 2 wickets in his first over. Yeah,
I think it was 1 run was scored off it. Like 2 wickets and 2 big wickets of Devon Conway and Mark Chapman as well. That, the game was pretty much lost at that point. And then I think Hardik came back for a second over and got out Glenn Phillips. So, inside of, how many had they lost in the power play? Was it 5 inside?
I think it was 7 for 4, maybe.
Let's have a look. It was
21 for 5.
Yeah, 21 for 5 inside the power play. Like, that's horrendous. And the only person that actually laid a bat on anything was Daryl Mitchell, who can actually come away from this match with a bit of that quiet smugness that you want in a changing room. When everybody else is getting a dressing down, you can kind of sit there being like, I mean, I hit 3 sixes and I've bowled an economical over at the death. That's his consolation, despite New Zealand getting absolutely humiliated. So we'll move on, because we could just gush over Shubman Gill all day. He is the next Kohli. I'm convinced.
Mm.
But we'll move on to the England versus South Africa ODI because this year I'm genuinely actually interested in some ODIs because they've got the context of the T20 World Cup. It does feel like there are too many matches going on at the moment, but with a bit of context, they can kind of mean a bit more.
Mm.
And England finally come away with a consolation. And I've got to say, in the first sort of 10 overs, I was not convinced that was going to happen. We were put into bat and we had one of the worst starts to an ODI that I can remember. Jason Roy went out for one. Ben Duckett nicked behind for a duck. And Harry Brook also did basically the same thing as Duckett. I think it was an inside edge. And we were, what was it? We were 14 for 3 after 5.4 overs. And then something amazing happened. Dawid Malan, who really struggled for fluency at the start, had it was a huge partnership, 232 run partnership.
Yes.
With Jos Buttler. Just talk about those two, because I thought it was one of the greatest partnerships I've seen in ODI.
It was just the fight back that they showed and how both as batters they settled into it. And it was a pitch that seemed like it got easier to bat on as the longer that you were in for.
Yeah.
But it was difficult to get in. So they did the hard yards in getting in and then cashed in later. Jos Buttler, it was the longest time he'd ever gone without scoring a run when he got off the mark with a 1 on his 14th ball. Wow. Never ever heard Jos Buttler in an ODI gone 13 balls without scoring ever. And it was his slowest knock in history. And it's great to see that Buttler, I mean, we know that he does because he's a class batsman, but has that gear as well and was able to bat with Dawid Malan. And also credit to Dawid Malan too for actually going through the gears as well. You see it with these best players in the world. You think of Joe Root, you think of Kohli, you think of Rassie van der Dussen. Like, they all have the ability to get themselves in and then accelerate through the gears. And I think we saw that with Malan today. Yesterday, sorry. He started off quite slow and then just slowly built up and went through the gears and got to a point where he was playing some phenomenal shots. The ball striking for some of his sixes that he's hit were phenomenal. It was just really good to see both of them cash in with the big century. And also, that ball striking of Dawid Malan really took the pressure off Jos Buttler. So it didn't mean that Buttler had to force it and force hitting the ball big, because actually Malan had accelerated through the gears, and it allowed Buttler to play his natural game as well, playing a bit more of a measured knock. And once they had that base at 246 when Malan goes with just under 10 overs to go, it allowed Moeen to come out and smash it around for 23 balls before having a bit of a fight with ENGvSA with some no balls and Yorkers. And I think he was bowled off a no ball, and then he smashed the free hit. And then I think he was LBW off a no ball, then he was bowled off the free hit, and then he was bowled the next ball. So
which
ENGvSA really had the wind in his sails there, didn't he?
Yeah, you got to say, ENGvSA to be nailing 3 leg stump Yorkers in a row, like absolutely pinpoint perfect Yorkers. Moeen Ali must have known what was coming by the third ball. I thought that was absolutely incredible from ENGvSA, and he showed some amazing skill. Because he took out the first 3 wickets, getting a lot of bounce when people weren't. The other bowlers didn't look that dangerous, to be honest.
I mean, his opening partnership with Marco Jansen was really good.
I like those two.
Jansen was providing control from one end, while ENGvSA was bowling the dangerous wicket-taking deliveries. The issue was the pressure really came off for England when the spinners and Magala came on. I'm not sure what was happening with Sisanda Magala, but he was just not like for taking 3 from the first game, he was just not bowling what we've seen from him. He couldn't get his run up right. His everything just seemed wrong with the poor guy. And yeah, I mean, he had a bit of a torrid time, didn't he, with his figures.
Yeah, yeah. And it meant that after we got that base, Moeen teed off and everybody else kind of just went for it as well. And it just shows the importance of, like you say, those players that can shift through the gears in ODI, because you do have the time. And, you know, I remember was it 2021 when Malan was, you know, really doing well. They kept on showing stats where it was like, if after he faces the first 20 balls, he then can strike at this insane strike rate. And he wasn't really playing ODIs that much. And I never understood why, because if you can go at a run a ball for the first 50 balls, first of all, that's good in ODI. And then you can kick on, you can justify your time at the crease. And I think he did it brilliantly. Sam Curran just hit a fat 6. Adil Rashid did the same kind of thing. It was good to see us capitalize on a good position from being in a very poor position. Now we'll move on, because I want to talk about South Africa's batting and in particular England's bowling.
Yes.
Because like you say, at the start, we identified that this was a difficult track to get in on. Once you were in, you could then kind of, shift up the gears. You kind of understood the fluency and how the track was playing. But to actually get yourself in, it was very difficult. And looking at the wickets and the timing of the wickets of England, that was why we won. Because just as people were kind of getting in, we then managed to take the wicket, and we knew it'd be regular wickets that was the key to this match. What did you think of England's bowling?
Jofra Archer, man, that's the story. 6 for 40, I think it was, off nearly 10 overs. Phenomenal. It just shows how much we've missed him the last 18 months, especially in white ball. I think, do I see Archer have a future in red ball? I'd love him to have a future in red ball, but I think it would just break the man. And I think we need Archer bowling at 147 clicks with white ball, bowling 10 overs, and that's all good. I think he was used by Josh Buttler yesterday to absolute perfection. Anytime a big wicket was needed, Josh Buttler would throw the ball to Archer and he'd deliver. I think what was getting really dangerous was first of all, he comes on as Rassie van der Dussen gets in, and Archer just rushes in for pace and eventually and gets that wicket early on, which was so key. But then the way that Buttler used him and brought him back on to dismiss Aidan Markram just when Aidan Markram was set and looking like he was going to go on for a big score. And also a few overs later, he comes in and gets Heinrich Klaasen with a massive top edge that was just skied in the air. He just was used fantastically and just took these really good wickets. Not even mentioning the dismissal of David Miller, which was a 90-mile-an-hour absolute fizzer that just takes the edge. So, yeah, he was used phenomenally. And I think where his overs were used is a real key thing to get the best out of Jofra Archer. He bowls so well with Adil Rashid.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think just Rashid getting control one side and, also threatening to take wickets, and with Archer the other side running in at that pace, it was just really good to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think those two as a bowling partnership works really well, because they both do threaten wickets, and it in the situation, in the context of the game, when you do just need like wickets at regular intervals, I think being able to put those two on, who might get a bit of tap every now and then, because Rashid is not afraid to kind of toss it up a bit. Archer obviously gives you that express pace that you can then use as a batsman. It means that you might go for a few runs, but the chances of taking a wicket are high. And I think you're absolutely right. Buttler did very well with his captaincy. Notably, or just notable knocks, were Reza Hendricks, who I think nobody was expecting him to get past the first 5 overs. I don't know why. When I was watching him in particular, I was just like, I don't know. He almost just registered. I just saw him as a walking wicket. I don't know why, because I do rate him quite highly. I just wasn't expecting, a very well fought 50, which is what he delivered. And then, Klaasen, I think is very good. Everybody said he was overpriced when he went to the IPL auction. I actually disagreed at the time. You can, go back, have a look at the live stream if you want to see that. But yeah, I disagreed. I thought he was actually really good. And I think he might play for Sunrisers. There's an interesting one. But yeah, I wasn't super impressed with Reece Topley. I thought he looked completely impotent on the pitch. Chris Woakes is somebody that I sometimes think looks like the most dangerous bowler in the world. Sometimes I think he looks like a bowling machine. He's just got that really metronomic style.
Yeah.
If it's not working, he's literally he is a bowling machine. He just serves it on line and length, and batsmen just absolutely take the game to him. I thought his slower ball was very good to get rid of Bavuma. But yeah, other than that, it was all right. And then Sam Curran, I thought, had an absolute stinker. What are your thoughts
the issue
on
with
those
Woakes,
three?
Yeah, the issue with Woakes, I think he's just been out of cricket for a long time and hasn't got back to the standard that we know of him. I think, me, I'm a massive Chris Woakes fan. I love the man. I think he's great. The issue that he had was, his first over was fantastic. Three runs off Bavuma, and then he bowled four really good balls to Klaasen. It was his second over where he went for a few runs, where he pitched one a bit too short, which went for 6, and then he overpitched one and it went for 4. So I think that was the issue with Woakes. He then came back and bowled some fantastic overs. He bowled a maiden in there. And his over when he actually got rid of Bavuma, he bowled a really good over, and then that slower ball that he used to get rid of him, I think was phenomenal. So, there's a little whisper of Woakes of old, pre-injury Woakes coming back here. Topley, just had an off day, I think. I think Topley's been one of England's best white ball bowlers. Over the course of the last year, I think he's been one of the only people to stand up during the troubles that we've had with ODI bowling. Here's the thing: whether I see Reece Topley, I do see Reece Topley in the World Cup squad as that opening partner to Chris Woakes, but there are players that are nipping at his heels. I think if Ollie Stone has a good sort of year, if he has a decent, he's not going to tour Bangladesh, I don't think, because he's going to be with the test squad. But if Ollie Stone can impress, his additional pace might pip Reece Topley there. England love David Willey. Also might be going in there, adds a little bit of extra batting as well. And then, as you say, Sam Curran had a bit of a stinker. He was sort of spraying it a bit, couldn't really pick up anything. I think, again, Sam Curran is great in the death. And if you use Sam Curran correctly, especially in T20, you get the best out of him. But, bowlers are allowed to have off days. And today it was the Jofra Archer show. And he was just taking all the wickets. So he wasn't letting any others get shared out. So you can end up looking at a scorecard and being like, they didn't do too good. But yeah, I'm not too worried about the three of them. I know, they have class with the ball. And it's just, waiting for that to show.
Right, we're going to wrap up there. The Cricket Nerds Challenge of the week is the next match that you all play, or if you're in winter nets, if you're in England, you have to try and play that Moeen Ali one-handed reverse slap. Okay, because that was the weirdest thing that happened in that day of cricket. So yeah, we're going to end there. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help us out. You can also follow us. All of our links, socials, and like audio things are in the description down below. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.